Today we're talking about 6 important, vital points that you need to pay attention to when picking a program. I've done a bunch of content over the years on programming, how to put them together, exercise selection, different progressions, and how all the different programs out there are different and how they're fundamentally the same. However, how successful any one program can be is going to fundamentally depend on you and your ability to follow it, grow from it, mold it to yourself. So I'm going to go down 6 very important things that will determine whether or not you're likely to have a good time on a program. And you can always check out my books, Base Strengths, available at basestrength.com. And guys, remember Big Dreams, Bad Genes, available at barbellapparel.com. It is restocked and we are doing our $100 giveaway. $300 gift card. Just go to basestrength.com, download the app, take the questionnaire. Doesn't cost you a thing and you are in the running. July 4th, we are announcing that. So let's get into it. The 6 different domains that can make a program just perfectly suited to you or can make it the worst idea you've ever had. The first thing is experience level. Obviously, if you are an elite lifter, you're probably not going to go do starting strength. And if it's your first day, or you haven't even squatted your body weight, please don't go fucking run a West Side template. Experience level has a lot more to do with physicality, although that's part of it. How physically developed you are is going to determine how much stress you need to grow, how specific your training needs to be, what your recovery is like, but also it's the mental aspect. The more experience you have, the more insight you have in how your body responds. You can more likely predict when the training is going well, if you're running yourself ragged. It's easier to make good decisions when you have a lot of training experience under your belt, and you also know a lot more about the spirit of these programs. Some programs have a spirit of just effort. It's just go in and kill yourself, and that's going to be the thing that drives progress. Some of them have a spirit of skill development. You just have to pay attention to the number of reps and all of the math under the hood, and as long as you're getting all those touches in, the math of the program does all the work for you. It's your experience that's going to keep you on the straight and narrow and milk the program for everything it's worth. Avoid disaster, but also get those key benchmarks that are responsible for driving you forward over time. For God's sake, though, most of you guys that are still on your way to getting experience, do not just take the program that you pulled from your favorite lifter that has 19 different points of variation, looks like it's some 4D chess matrix algorithm, and think this is what I got to do. For the overwhelming number of people out there that are trying to get experience, simple and accessible is a lot better. So please keep that in mind. Number 2, is it enough stress to grow you, and is it less stress than what is likely to run you into the ground? This is something you also get from experience, but you can guess that if you're a newbie, you probably shouldn't jump into Arnold's 2 workouts a day, 6 days a week, Olympia prep. You sure as shit shouldn't be trying the squat every day bullshit or going into Smolov. These are notorious for running lifters into the ground. For all the lifters that got really strong really fast, not only were they not able to repeat that in subsequent blocks, or else they just be doing that on repeat and have a world record squat, but they also usually ended up with overuse issues, patellar tendonitis, and so on. So it doesn't give you the insight you need. So don't break yourself trying to jump into programs that got sold to you as being uniquely special, and you get that FOMO, when in reality you have a list of things you know work pretty well and predictably, because it's that done on repeat over a long time that's likely to yield really, really big results, not because you switched to one other thing and it was just the thing you were missing. Number 3, does it match your available time, energy, focus, resources? Do you have the resources available to you to run this program? If you have a program that requires a lot of time, if you're trying to run Shaco and it's like 1 billion reps of the same 3 lifts for 2.5 hours, if you realistically, by the time you get in the gym, get warmed up and get going, only have like 45 minutes, that is a really, really bad idea. You're setting yourself up for a disaster. Also, the equipment. If you're on the hook for going to the gym that has all the bells and whistles, but you can only get there sometimes kind of, don't bias towards a program that's going to put you in that spot. Look at what you can do on a bad day, what you have available in terms of time, equipment, resources. That should dictate what type of program you run. There are plenty of good examples that are going to yield really good results. Stop forcing yourself into something that requires you to pay attention to minutia that you're not going to pay attention to, or requires you to make decisions that are out of your wheelhouse. The first thing you should be looking at when you're analyzing if this is something that's doable is this going to pull away from other obligations that are more important? No training program should do that. They should make your life better, not stress you out more. Number 4, is it accessible or manageable? This can be summarized as, is it really fucking unnecessarily complicated? Accessible programs are ones that anybody can jump into. It's pretty straightforward, what the movements should be like, what the splits like. People should not have any questions workout to workout what they're doing. And if you run into a problem, can you manage that problem? Do you understand what the spirit of the program is so that you can work around it and get back on track? One of my biggest critiques of West Side has been it is not a fucking accessible program. It has the most unnecessary complexity of any program. So if you don't have years of experience doing it with a bunch of other people, it's not obvious to you which exercises you should switch to, what's going to carry over to what's appropriate for different types of lifters. There's just so much variability there. It takes away your power to have that consistency that's going to guarantee results. It's similar with a bunch of other programs too. Like if you have an RPE-based program, but you're not really confident that you know exactly where you are on any given day, there's a whole bunch of reasons a program might not be that accessible to you. And this goes back to experience. Don't jump into something because you think complexity means better. There are plenty of things that are simple, straightforward, easily accessible, easy to manage. Always know what is the spirit of the program and am I able to follow it? Number 5, this is the biggest one that nobody talks about, and I would bet every dollar I have that if you talk to enough thoroughly experienced coaches and lifters, or if you just simply conducted some type of study or survey that collected this data, you would find that not only were these lifters going to have a greater quality of life, greater enjoyment, greater association with lifting, but objectively, I firmly believe that their actual lifts would tend to be better. Does the program you run spur a specific type of enjoyment or purpose? Is it somehow connected to, I don't know, your values or your work ethic? Does it create enjoyment? That's such a big one, because not only is the average person more likely to stick with something that they enjoy doing, obviously, and that applies to a big population of lifters, but even for more serious, more advanced lifters, every moment you have in your training over your entire lifetime that might be the determining factor of whether or not you push forward or not is going to be determined by your association with it, your willingness to get in and get really aggressive, all of the excitement that you bring to it. If training spurs that type of enjoyment, if it does relate to something more substantive in you, or you have a firmer handle of why you do this that sparks that joy and passion in you, you're just gonna fucking do better. The only way that wouldn't be the case is if the training was so fucked or so devoid of any structure that you were doing really bad shit on like a macroscopic level. And most training programs just simply don't differ that much. That's really the truth. People don't want to admit that. They want to approach this as if there's always one, not just better approach in an objective and consistent way, but that it's obviously better. That really is not the case. If you love the fucking training you do, you will grow so much more than if you force yourself into something that you find boring, that you think is a chore, that you don't really get. Don't let yourself build an association of boredom or complacency with your training. You should love the training you do. So if you're a psychopath and you only get excited when you're breaking yourself against weight, find a program that rewards you for that and makes it sustainable. If you're somebody who likes skill development and you like the elegance of Olympic lifting just applied to powerlifting, look into a more formal kind of run-of-the-mill powerlifting style program and just has you rack up a bunch of practice reps. It's a different personality that gets really excited over bodybuilding versus somebody that gets really excited over a really simple, monotonous LP type structure. And there's no reason that you shouldn't glue yourself to it if you think that is the thing that brings more joy into your life. Lastly, number 6, is this required for a serious competitive goal? I bring this up because many people think that this particular method of training, even if it bumps against all the other points we talked about, is somehow essential to compete or to get the optimal returns that you are looking for. And that is almost never the case. First of all, most people just need to consistently learn how to get stronger and build that experience with their body. And you're only going to do that if you do a program that doesn't strain you in any of these domains that we talked about. For a style of training to be required for a certain method of competition, you're talking about being part of an Olympic lifting squad where you're living off a state stipend and you've got coaches and resources that are giving you the training and handling you as an athlete. Or you're talking about being a professional athlete where the strength and conditioning coaches got it all figured out. In that situation, you shut up, you follow the programming, it's all taken care of for you. But this illusion that people that are just trying to get better, trying to get stronger, that there is some one right way that they need to follow, even if it forces all these sacrifices, it takes a toll on their body, if they find it frustrating or if it bumps up against the rest of their life, that just is almost never the case. Most of you are going to answer this question as no. This is not required for my serious competitive goal. Answering yes to this question is really the only situation where you would deliberately ignore the list that we've gone over so far. And there is something to be said for people in extreme circumstances getting that social pressure to just force themselves into a program that's pulling them apart. There are absolutely instances of people figuring out the hard way to make it work, but that is not appropriate for the average person. That's a recipe for disaster. And the difference in programming approaches probably aren't going to be recognizable anyway, so you're really just shooting yourself in the foot. So this turns into a pretty easy flowchart. If you're looking at a program you want to try, or if you think something would be better, ask yourself, does this solve any problems that I'm currently having? Or did this just get sold to me and I'm getting FOMO for not having tried it? And then go down the list point by point. Does it fit my experience level or does it bump against it? Does it feature stress that I'm not able to recover from? Is it enough stress that I know I'm going to grow from it? Does anything in my life bump up against this or make this difficult? Is it inaccessible? Is it too complicated? Does it fit my personality? Am I going to actually fucking enjoy this? Depending on how you answer that, it should be very obvious to you if a program is going to be appropriate or not. So that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, this is Bromley. I'll see you.